Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on the East-West Show with G&E TV. Talking about this time, the past election, November the 4th, that was the voting date, with some kind of positive or negative results. We did see some of the bills, some of the propositions passed, and we did see some, some good people chosen as our elected officials. Among those good people chosen, one of them is my good friend, Mr. Curt Hagman. Right now, you're still a assemblyman of California, only a county supervisor elect for the county of San Bernardino. Am I right?
Absolutely.
All right. The Honorable Mr. Curt Hagman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you for all your viewers who supported me to get me elected. I'm very thankful.
Thank you very much. And I'm so glad we did the right thing. We promoted from day one, right? All the way till the very end. And I believe that lots of my friends, my audiences for this show, voted you too, including some friends that I know, right? Because they trust your quality, they trust your ideology, the concept basically we're talking about. Right now, especially at this moment when the country is kind of in a very shaky position when concepts are concerned, we really need some solid, grassrooted, I call it a ideology to go further upon, right? So,
correct.
What's your overall? I remember last time, right after the election, when victory was not even declared, we talked a little bit about the turnout, right? So what's your overall comment about the past election, please?
Well, it shows that voters are not excited. A lot of things to go vote for. So the voter turnout has been trending lower and lower each and every time. And like we talked before, there's something not to take for granted. When you have the opportunity to pick who your representative is going to be and pick what your future is going to be, people need to get out and vote. So, overall, I'm excited for some of the bigger global changes of the elections. I think the pendulum always seems to swing back and forth, and for right now, it's swinging a little more toward the moderate and my direction a little bit.
Sure.
California is always still lagging, and so we didn't have as many victories in California, although there was several significant ones that changed the 2/3 makeup for both the Assembly and the Senate. So now one party does not rule by 2/3. I wish more and more people get involved, to get informed about the issues and make their voices heard. I think that's always the case.
Yeah. Mr. Curt Hagman, it looks to me California is tilted to the left side for quite some time. We were once, even at a time when we had a Republican governor, though, we were still on the left, quite much so. I'm not saying the left being right or wrong, or right side being right or wrong. I'm only talking about is it more healthier for a state to swing back and forth, or is it healthier for a state to stay one side only?
I believe that change and having that balance is really what you want to go for. Without the balance, you don't have other people's ideas. And that's from personal experiences. My first 2 years in the state assembly, they needed Republican votes for the budget and other issues before the voters changed that rule.
Sure.
So they had to take some of our ideas. And a lot of our perspective are for business-friendly ideas. And a lot more bipartisanness at that point, still fight over core issues, but we were able to get some of our ideas in. The second 2-year term is when the voters passed the Majority Budget Act. Much easier to pass the budget, no doubt, okay, because the first couple of years they went on and on and on.
All right.
But we didn't have to get talked to at all in the minority party. So why do you ever, if anybody in their family or their business, anywhere else, do you want to rule strictly with one view, or do you want to open yourself up to views of your friends, your family, your coworkers, and try to get a better compromise? It doesn't mean you're not in charge if you're the owner of the company, whatever, but at the same time, you want to hear that input. The last term I've had, the last 2 years, you made it even worse because it's 2/3 supermajority. So that means we don't even need to give you the time of day. We're going to be able to do our agenda.
Sure.
And I think it takes political figures, and especially in that setting, either the state legislature or the congressional legislature, are more partisan left and right than most Americans in the middle.
I see.
The way our elections are established, and we're trying to change that here in California, but we're going to pick the most Republican, the most Democrat person out of either party, and then throw them against each other.
Sure.
Kind of drives the Republican to the right more, and kind of drives the Democrat to the left more. And then when you have a supermajority or that many, and you're in power, and you're among other, in this case, Democrats, the ones who get noticed are the ones who go more left, because now they're talking to the activist groups in the state. Or in Congress, they're talking to the activist groups of the right-hand side of the country. And that's the way the system's kind of set up. So unless you have that balance, unless you change things over,
Sure.
You never get to hear those other points of views. And we saw that with Obama's administration. When he got sworn in, he had control of the Senate, the Congress, and the presidency for the first 2 years. He took a very strong left approach when he first started governing. And then the country responded and said, no, it's too much. So we're going to go backward to the right.
All right, okay. Now is where we are, right? Now the Republican got hold of the majority of the both houses, right?
Right.
Of course, California is an extra, is an exemption or of that
Yes.
trend or whatever.
Yes.
Looking at California right now, are we talking about still talking about the absolute majority?
No. We've won 3 assembly seats and a couple Senate seats. So now there's not a supermajority in either house. Democrats still have a majority.
Majority, but not supermajority.
But not supermajority anymore. So the trend is coming back. We're just not as exaggerated as other states. But I do think that you saw the turnout when we actually found out the numbers of people who voted, at least in my race. The Republican turnout was plus 10 or 11% higher than was expected.
I see.
So that shows a trend to me that they're much more engaged, they're much more passionate right now, and therefore the need to, that's statewide occurrence. And I think that was countrywide what we saw. That means that, and whenever you're trying to run for office, you're trying to capture that middle vote, those declining states, the independents voters that are not classified Republican or Democrat.
In other words, I might say, if you look among the constituents, the population as a whole, though, you see group of people who are never interested in politics, no matter what you say, no matter who runs it, no matter whichever party you're talking about. For those, even though the minority, though, who are interested in politics, they do enjoy saying something. They do enjoy expressing themselves by casting their own votes. Am I right?
Yes. Well, I would say the ones that would say they're political are usually extreme on an issue or two. It's not like my hardcore Republicans are the same with me on every issue.
All right.
But they're activists. And the same thing on the Democrat side.
Sure.
What really swings the elections either way is those voters in the middle that really don't want to get involved as long as government's working. When they feel it's broken, when they feel it's going the wrong direction, that's when they turn out and vote.
Yeah, they will.
Because it's more of a protest vote. I don't like the way you're going, California. I don't like the way you're going, United States.
I see.
So I'm going to show up this time and vote against you. And that's what we saw this election cycle. The majority of Americans did not like the way Obama's taken things, and majority of Californians think we went too far in California as well.
It's quite amazing, Mr. Curt Hagman, when you look back into the past 6 years, both your bill record and your voting record and your involvement record in authorizing bills, authorizing bills, though, we find that you are Republican, yet you are the one that gets a kind of coalition, hands joined, more rather than not. So, as a Republican, though, the underlying question is that, do you consider yourself about the eagle type or the pigeon type? I see, different types.
I've never thought of myself either one. What I try to do is like you said, build personal relationships first. In anything you do, business, school, home, family, or in politics, building so people have integrity and have people be able to trust what you say, and I like to hear the other side, and then I'll debate issues, and we may not agree, but if we do agree, let's work together toward a common goal.
All right.
So I guess that'd be eagle.
Yeah, automatically, to the health of the of a state, though, is it better for us to see left and right going both to the extremist end so that they can balance in a better way, or for them both to be amicable to get close as possible? Which way will benefit the state as a state?
Yes, our democracy, it's much better to be amicable and work toward together, but our democracy has always been about having those different points of view come together. What has changed, I would guess, and I don't know if there's a better system out there yet, is that unfortunately to run a campaign now becomes very costly. Especially here in California. My assembly district was larger than some congressional districts throughout the country. My county is bigger than some states in population and size.
Yeah, of course.
So
We'll
the
talk about your
scale
county, yeah.
in California is much different.
Sure.
So in California especially, you need so much money to run, and the way you get money is you get power, and that's how the Democrats have done so well.
Okay. So much for the Assembly House. What's your take about the changes in the Senate House?
Both national or California?
No, I mean California.
Oh, California. Well, I think it was very important that the Republicans picked up a couple seats in order to block the 2/3. We have a running joke among Republican politicos right now that the most moderate Democrat right now is Jerry Brown, the governor, and which is something to think about when everyone knew about Jerry Brown being very liberal, very to the left. Yet he is most
amicable.
Yes, he is most in the middle than all the Democrat colleagues up there right now. So we needed to have that blockage. Both parties need to meet in the middle to get government functioning and efficiently and doing its job. Correct.
I'm not saying you're not doing your job the last week or weeks, but I'm saying that you will consider more about it. So let's talk about your county, your beautiful county, when we come back.